Your eyelashes freeze shut before you reach the car. A car that's been idling all night, because turning it off means it may never start again. In a few minutes, you'll walk your child to school at -50. That's a normal morning in one of 8 places where people have built whole lives at the very edge of what the human body can handle. Those places include the coldest villages on Earth, the hottest cities, the driest deserts, the wettest hillsides, and the most remote islands on the planet. We start in Siberia, where 50 below is just another weekday. Number 1. Oymyakon in Russia is where cold is not just a number. It's the air you breathe, the frost on your lashes, the way every engine hums through the night. At -50, the day begins before sunrise, as families layer thermal underwear, wool, fur, and heavy boots, bracing for the short walk to a car that has been idling since dusk. Shutting off the engine is not an option. A frozen block means a stranded family, and in this climate, that is a risk no one takes lightly. The school bus, its own heater running since midnight, rattles over snow-packed roads, ferrying children past fields where reindeer graze under clouds of breath that crystallize in seconds. Inside the village school, a central diesel furnace and double-glazed windows hold the classroom at a bearable chill, while lessons begin with a warm-up, literal jumping and stretching to fight off the bite of the cold. Lunch is stroganina, thin slices of frozen fish pulled from a cellar dug deep into the permafrost, where meat, milk, and berries keep up for months. Here, freezing is not a threat, but the default condition. Food storage, water collection, even waste management are all built around the certainty of ice. Reindeer herding remains the backbone of the local economy, a tradition handed down through generations. And tourism brings a modest influx each winter as outsiders arrive to witness the pole of cold. Travel in and out depends on ice roads called zimniki that open for a few months each year, and when the thaw comes early, the village can be cut off for days. For those who stay, identity is bound to the land and its seasons, to the rhythm of diesel deliveries, the glow of wood stoves, and the knowledge that here, survival is a daily act of adaptation. In second place, Verkhoyansk sits deep in the Sakha Republic, where the cold is relentless. But the challenge is not just temperature. It is distance, logistics, and the scarcity of backup when anything fails. With a population of around 1,300, Verkhoyansk is smaller and more remote than most towns. Yet it holds the same joint world record low of -67.8 degrees Celsius. Here, the rhythm of daily life is set by the seasonal roads in the Lena River, which dictate when food, fuel, and medicine arrive. In winter, truck convoys crawl across ice roads, called zimniks, timing their runs to the narrow window when the river is solid enough to bear their weight. The last load before the thaw carries not just groceries, but the hope that nothing essential runs out before the next freeze. When the ice melts, only river barges can reach the town, and schedules depend on shifting water and weather. Supplies are rationed, and every delivery is a community event. There is no second hospital, no alternate route, and few spare parts. Most families rely on reindeer herding and hunting, traditions that anchor them to the land and to each other. Living here means accepting long stretches of isolation, where neighbors become lifelines, and scarcity is an everyday reality. For outsiders, reaching Verkhoyansk is a feat in itself, requiring permits, river crossings, and the patience to wait for the right season. Yet for those who stay, the town is more than a frontier outpost. It is a place where endurance and belonging are forged in the long, silent cold. Number 3. Yakutsk stands as the world's largest city built on continuous permafrost, an urban experiment where the ground itself threatens to swallow buildings if the cold is not respected. With a population nearing 300,000, daily life here is not about scarcity, but about maintaining the routines of a modern city in conditions that would cripple most infrastructure. Every building rests on deep pilings, carefully engineered to keep the heat from melting the frozen earth below. Water and sewage pipes run above ground, wrapped in insulation and heat tape, tracing a web of lifelines through the city's neighborhoods. Roads buckle and shift as the seasons change, and maintenance crews work year-round to keep public services running, even as temperatures plunge below -63 degrees Celsius. In winter, the Lena River becomes a highway of ice, supporting trucks and buses that connect Yakutsk to outlying villages, while the city's airport remains a vital link to the outside world. Schools, universities, and hospitals operate as in any other city, but every aspect of their design is dictated by the need to manage permafrost and prevent catastrophic thaw. Residents shop in bustling markets, attend concerts, and commute to office jobs, all while navigating streets lined with frost-coated trees and steam rising from manholes. People stay for reasons that echo any urban center: education opportunity, healthcare, and the promise of a future. For outsiders, Yakutsk is the most accessible of the cold extremes. Flights arrive daily, and permits are straightforward. Yet beneath the surface, the city's survival depends on a delicate balance with the frozen ground, a constant negotiation between human ambition and the deep, ancient cold. Number 4. Bandar-e-Mashar in Iran stands out not for how cold it gets, but for how the heat shapes every hour of the day. Here, the air can feel like a furnace. During the infamous 2016 heat emergency, the city's heat index soared to 54 degrees Celsius, pushing the limits of what the human body can safely endure. In this climate, survival is a matter of timing and constant adaptation. Daily routines shift toward the night or the earliest hours of dawn, when the sun's intensity relents just enough for work and errands. Streets empty by midday, and public spaces are built around water features, misting stations, and shaded courtyards, anywhere that offers a brief escape from the oppressive heat. Inside homes and offices, cooling routines become ritual. Air conditioners and evaporative coolers run almost non-stop. And water use spikes as residents shower multiple times a day or soak towels to drape over doors and windows. Hydration isn't just a health tip, it's a survival strategy, with families tracking water intake and carrying bottles everywhere. The city's economic lifeblood is oil refining, fishing, and port activity, and it keeps people anchored here, even as the climate grows harsher. For many, leaving isn't an option. Livelihoods depend on the refineries and the busy port, and community ties run deep. For visitors, the season matters. The best chance to experience daily life comes in the cooler months, between October and March, when daytime temperatures are merely hot rather than punishing. Health authorities require heat stroke kits and strict hydration routines for outsiders, underscoring just how extreme this environment can be. In Bandar-e-Mashar, adaptation is less about dramatic gestures and more about the quiet, constant choreography of timing, shelter, and endurance that lets life continue under a relentless sun. Number 5. Quilagua in Chile is where water scarcity shapes every detail of daily life. Tucked inside the Atacama Desert, Quilagua receives less than half a millimeter of rain per year. So little that meteorologists call it the driest inhabited place on Earth. Here, each household's routine is built around drought. Water arrives not from the sky but through a pipeline fed by the distant Loa River, and every drop is accounted for by the community council. Large underground cisterns store the limited supply, while families ration their use for cooking, cleaning, and the careful drip irrigation of small vegetable plots. Agriculture is a lesson in patience and ingenuity. Olives, quinoa, and a few hardy crops cling to life in soil that almost never sees moisture. Dry storage becomes a necessity, with food kept in cool, thick-walled adobe houses that buffer the wild swings between desert heat and chilly nights. The pressure of water rights looms over the town, as mining operations upstream compete for the same river, turning access into a matter of survival and local activism. Yet people remained, anchored by deep Atacameno roots, a sense of place that ties families to land and desert economy. Even travel here demands planning. Visitors must bring extra water, sun protection, and respect for the fragile balance that keeps Quilagua alive. In this oasis, resilience is measured not in abundance, but in the careful management of scarcity and in the routines that turn a near absence of rain into a way of life. Number 6. Mawsynram, India. is where rain isn't just a season, it is the defining force of everyday life. Each year, nearly 12 meters of rainfall soak this village in the Khasi Hills, earning it the title of the wettest permanently inhabited place on Earth. But the story here is not about records. It is about routines shaped by saturation. During the monsoon, the sky opens almost daily, and the ground becomes a shifting, sodden landscape. Homes rise on stone or concrete stilts, their foundations lifted above the waterlogged earth to avoid rot and erosion. Roofs are pitched steep and wide, thatched or corrugated, channeling torrents into deep gutters that snake away from the walls. Paths between houses double as streams, and every errand is timed to the rare lull between downpours. Landslides are a constant threat. In the wettest months, roads vanish beneath mud or are blocked by fallen trees, cutting off access to markets and the schools. When the main road washed out in June 2020, villagers built a cableway to haul supplies across the ravine, restoring the flow of medicine and food in just 3 days. Children often stay home when the rain is too fierce, their lessons postponed until the paths are safe again. Food storage becomes an act of anticipation. Grains and vegetables are stacked high on bamboo racks, well above the flood line, while firewood dries under eaves in the rare dry spells. Why stay? For many, the answer lies in the land itself. The rain feeds lush fields of paddy and ginger, and the rhythm of planting and harvest is tied to the monsoon's arrival. Community bonds run deep, strengthened by shared work and the annual monsoon festival. For visitors, the dry season from October to February offers safer passage, but even then, the memory of rain lingers in every conversation. In Mazen Ram, adaptation is both architecture and attitude, a daily negotiation with water that shapes not just survival, but a distinct sense of place. Number 7, La Rinconada in Peru is where altitude itself becomes the most demanding fact of daily life. Perched at 5,100 meters on the edge of a glacier, this mining town is the highest permanent settlement on Earth. Here, the air holds less than half the oxygen found at sea level, and every movement is a negotiation with thinness. Walking uphill, carrying groceries, even sleeping requires the body to adapt or pay the price. Chronic headaches, breathlessness, and sleepless nights are the norm, not the exception. For newcomers, a slow ascent is mandatory. Skipping acclimatization can mean severe illness, or worse. Locals drink coca tea to soothe altitude sickness, a centuries-old remedy that takes the edge off the constant strain. The rhythm of life in La Rinconada revolves around gold. Most residents work in informal mines, following the cacoreo system, weeks of unpaid labor in exchange for a single day to keep what they find. The economy is raw and immediate, with gold dust traded for cash at street-side buying stations. Healthcare is scarce, and mercury used in mining seeps into water and air, compounding the already heavy toll of low oxygen. Food is basic, such as bread, potatoes, and canned goods. It is hauled up by mule caravans or battered trucks that crawl the treacherous road from lower valleys. Water is often glacial melt, icy and unreliable. Shelter is improvised, with homes built from sheet metal and stone, perched on slopes where the ground freezes most nights. For outsiders, reaching La Rinconada is a journey in itself. A flight to Juliaca, then a rough bus ride, and finally a climb that tests lungs and resolve. Visitors need days to adjust, carrying oxygen canisters and moving at a measured pace. There are no hotels, only makeshift guest rooms, and the margin for error is slim. Yet, for tens of thousands, the lure of gold and the hope of a better future keep them anchored to this high, harsh plateau. In La Rinconada, survival is not just about enduring the cold or the lack of comfort. It is about learning to live with the mountain's demands every single day. 8th place, Tristan da Cunha stands as a living test of what it means to be truly remote. Nearly halfway between South Africa and South America, this volcanic island is home to around 250 people, families whose routines revolve not around roads or railways, but the rhythm of the sea. There is no airport, no regular flights, and the only way in or out is by ship, a cargo vessel that calls once a month, weather permitting. When the seas are rough, the schedule slips and the islanders wait, sometimes for weeks, for the next delivery of food, fuel, and medicine. In 2021, when a cargo run was canceled during the pandemic, the community dispatched a fishing boat and on an 8-day voyage to fetch life-saving antibiotics, making the stakes of isolation clear. Daily life here is a careful balance of self-reliance and community interdependence. Fishing is both livelihood and sustenance, with families tending small boats and casting lines for crayfish, the island's main export. Gardens carved from volcanic soil supply potatoes, cabbage, and onions, while livestock graze on the green slopes above the settlement. Every household maintains its own stockpile of essentials, and repairs to homes or machinery are done with what is on hand. There is no hardware store just around the corner. Healthcare is limited to a single stone clinic staffed by one doctor. Emergency planning is woven into the fabric of life. Evacuation for major medical crises depends on the next ship, or, in rare cases, a passing research vessel. For visitors, reaching Tristan da Cunha is a logistical feat. Permits are tightly controlled, and the journey, at least a week by sea from Cape Town, demands patience and planning. The Island Council requires written consent for filming, and privacy is fiercely protected in a community where everyone knows each other by name. Here, time moves at the pace of the tides, and the calendar is set not by public holidays, but by the arrival and departure of boats. In this far-flung outpost, survival is not about braving the elements, but about living with distance itself. Finding meaning and routine in a place where the world feels both impossibly far and intimately close. Coming to the final synthesis, a pattern emerges across these far-flung settlements. Survival at the edge depends on timing, resourcefulness, and a constant negotiation with the environment's demands. Seasonality shapes every routine, whether it is waiting for the ice roads to freeze in Yakutia, timing a cargo ship to Tristan da Cunha, or planning harvests around the monsoon in Mausenral. In each place, supply windows are brief and precious, and a single missed delivery can mean days or weeks of rationing. Infrastructure, be it pilings sunk into permafrost, fog nets stretching across the Atacama, or stilt houses bracing for rain, reflects a daily calculus of trade-offs: security versus access, comfort versus risk, tradition versus necessity. These communities adapt not just through technology, but through habits and social bonds that make hardship manageable. For those drawn to visit, respect begins with preparation. The best season varies. Winter for the cold, dry months for the wet and high, and cooler months for the heat. Permits are often required, and local authorities or councils should always be contacted in advance. Responsible travel means hiring local guides, following community rules, and seeking informed consent before filming or sharing stories, especially in small or indigenous communities. Even a brief stay reveals unexpected adaptations. A block heater humming through the night, a living root bridge flexing underfoot, a household's water ration measured to the drop. In the world's most extreme inhabited places, resilience is not just survival, it is the art of building a life in rhythm with the planet's most demanding moods. Across all these extreme communities, one truth stands out. Ordinary life persists where survival seems improbable. The pattern isn't just grit, it's daily practical adaptation, forged by necessity and ingenuity. These places remind us that unlivable is a moving target. Wherever the limits of habitability are drawn, people constantly redraw them, proving that resilience isn't rare, it's routine. Which adaptation surprised you most? Let us know in the comments.